Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really fascinating from the sources you shared, a side of semaglutide and weight loss that honestly kind of stopped me in my tracks.
Oh, yeah. What specifically?
Well, everyone talks about the physical stuff,
For
right?
sure.
The weight coming off. But we're looking at what happens when something, well, stops happening.
You mean the cravings, the food noise?
Exactly. When that constant background chatter about food just goes quiet.
It's a huge shift. Less about the scale, like you said, and more about this completely new internal feeling. It's like a lifelong companion. That relationship with food suddenly isn't there in the same way.
And that creates this space, this silence, which can be liberating, sure, but also kind of unsettling.
Definitely unsettling for some. It really comes through in that story about Kate.
Right, Kate. Okay, so she's 46, mother of three, the dogs, the unfinished book.
Yeah.
The sources paint a clear picture.
Yeah.
2 months on semaglutide.
And, on paper, it's all going well. 7 pounds down, blood sugar's looking better, minimal side effects. Textbook success, almost.
Almost. But the biggest thing for her wasn't the weight. It was, and this is her quote, the craving that didn't show up, that really jumped out.
Yeah, because the sources explained she knew hunger intimately. Food was, well, everything. Comfort, company, managing emotions.
Chips for the slump, bread when lonely, cake for joy. Because, you had to sweeten the joy or maybe it wouldn't last. That was her story.
A deeply wired narrative, a constant back and forth with food.
And then one day, she walks past the pantry and nothing.
Silence.
She said for the first time in 20 years, nothing reached back. And that quiet, that lack of the usual mental noise was deeply unsettling.
A ghost in her own kitchen. That's powerful imagery.
Or her brain like a library after hours. It's this weird thing where the silence feels, I don't know, louder than the noise it replaced.
That's precisely what Dan Hollis calls the quiet window. His work, which you shared, really focuses on this.
Okay, tell me more about this quiet window.
He says it's when the food stops answering your questions and the real ones start talking.
Ah, so the silence isn't empty, it's just filled with different stuff.
Exactly. And sometimes that stuff is uncomfortable. Like the sources mention, it can touch on the grief of losing the thing that numbed you. Even if that thing, that pattern with food, wasn't serving you well.
Kate felt that. She missed the signal, the rhythm, even the story she told herself about knowing how to feel full. It's fascinating.
She said, it's not that I'm sad, it's just that everything feels like truth now, which is a profound place to be.
It really is, and it's not just psychological, right? The medication itself is actually creating this quiet. Can you quickly break down how that works biologically?
Sure. So semaglutide, as the material explains, it mimics a gut hormone, GLP-1.
Okay.
And GLP-1 does a couple of key things. It tells your brain you feel full, and it also slows down how fast your stomach empties.
So you feel fuller longer.
Right. It helps regulate appetite and blood sugar. So when Kate says the craving didn't show up, it's because the drug is literally turning down the volume on those hunger signals. That constant food noise people describe. It gets quieter.
It's biochemistry making the quiet possible.
Exactly. Not magic, just biology paving the way for this internal shift.
Okay, so the biology creates the quiet, and then that opens up this whole psychological arena, which is where Dan Hollis comes in.
Right. He sees the medication not as the whole solution, not a crutch, but as a window to change.
A window, I like that. Like it clears the view.
Yeah, clears the runaway maybe, allows you to actually see what else is going on, what's trying to land, now that the constant food thoughts aren't blocking everything.
So it forces or allows you to ask different questions.
Deeper questions, the ones food used to sort of muffle. Like, what am I really hungry for if it's not food? Or who am I without this constant chase?
What's left when the noise goes?
Wow.
And Hollis's approach isn't just about motivation, like you can do it, or more restriction. He talks about providing scaffolding.
Scaffolding, like support structures.
Exactly. Support to help people navigate this new, quieter internal landscape that the medication has suddenly revealed. It's about building momentum within that quiet space. And your sources laid out his whole framework, this human-centered approach based on 7 core principles. It seems to go way beyond just the biology.
Oh, absolutely. It connects the biology, the behavior, and the emotional stuff. The whole picture. Using the medication as that catalyst, that window for real, lasting change.
Okay, let's dive into those principles. The first one he calls start with silence. Your sources quote him, "When the cravings stop, the truth begins." What kind of truth are we talking about? It sounds like more than just, oh, I'm not physically hungry.
It is way more. Yes, semaglutide dials down the physical drive, which can feel like peace initially.
Right, a relief.
But then, as Kate found, that quiet can become uncomfortable because what rushes into that space, often it's the emotions that eating used to cover up.
Like boredom, anxiety.
Boredom, anxiety, loneliness, stress, maybe even anger you didn't realize was there. Things you previously just ate over. So this first step is about observing that. Noticing what feelings come up when eating isn't the go-to response.
So don't just immediately try to fill the void with something else.
Exactly. Just listen first. See what's actually there beneath the noise.
Okay, so you listen to the silence, you start hearing these underlying feelings.
Mm.
What's next? Hollis says you need to rewire the rituals.
Mm.
Every pound lost is a habit that needs replacing, not just
Yeah.
removing. I like that. It's not just stopping things, it's starting new ones.
Precisely. Because food rituals, they're not just about eating. They're wired deep in our brains, our neurology.
Habits.
Right. So even when the drug dampens the physical urge, the habit reaching for cookies when stressed, eating while watching TV, that programming is still there.
But the drug makes it easier to fight.
It makes it easier to see it and choose differently because you're not battling that intense physical craving at the same time. You have more mental energy, more bandwidth to consciously build a new ritual.
Ah, so instead of chips when stressed, maybe a walk. Or journaling.
Or calling a friend, yeah. The medication clears the weeds, but you still have to plant the new garden, so to speak, build the new path.
That makes sense. Okay, the next principle really struck me. Anchor identity before the weight drops. The quote was, your body changes faster than your identity. That feels very true.
It's a huge challenge because weight loss is so visible, right? It's external. But the identity piece, that's internal, invisible work, and maybe even more critical for making the change last.
How so?
Well, you have to consciously ask, who am I becoming now? Separate from the number on the scale, you need to redefine your self-image, your self-worth outside of that old relationship with food or body size.
Untangle it from the past.
Exactly. Because if
Yeah.
you don't do that work, your brain, which likes familiarity, might almost subconsciously pull you back towards the old familiar identity, even if it wasn't healthy. Sabotage, almost.
Wow. Okay. So internal work matching the external changes, which leads nicely into the next one. Pace the process. Hollis says fast results don't mean lasting results. Pacing is protection. This isn't just about losing weight slowly, is it?
No, it's broader than that. Part of it is metabolic pacing, letting your body adjust gradually to lower intake and weight, which helps avoid plateaus and rebound, makes it more sustainable biologically.
Right.
But crucially, it's also about emotional pacing, giving your mind, your identity, time to catch up with the physical changes.
Like letting the new identity anchor sink in.
Pretty much. Because rapid change, if it's not integrated emotionally, if you haven't really processed the why and the who you're becoming, it can feel unstable. It can lead to overwhelm or feeling disconnected, which makes relapse more likely. Slowing down helps it all integrate.
It's counterintuitive in our results now world, but it makes sense. Okay, this next one feels super practical. Plan the off-ramp from day one. The idea that the real work begins after the medication.
That's a key insight from Hollis in the materials. Because people often think, okay, I reached my goal weight, I stopped the meds, I'm done.
But it's not that simple.
Not usually. He points out that relapse often isn't just about hunger coming back full force. It's about those unaddressed patterns, the old emotional triggers, the lack of strategies they all rush back in once the medication isn't there, smoothing things over.
So you need a plan before you stop.
Yes. His approach is think about life after semaglutide right from the start. Use the time on the medication, when things are quieter, to build the skills, the habits, the resilience you'll need later. Don't wait until the quiet window starts to close.
That requires foresight and
Yeah.
support, presumably, which is the next principle. Build the scaffolding. Hollis insists support isn't optional. It's neurobiological scaffolding. It's not a solo mission.
Absolutely not. And scaffolding is such a good word for it. It's everything that holds you up during this transformation. Emotional support, sure, but also community, structure, routine, even the language you use.
Language, how so?
How you talk about the process, about yourself, having positive framing, understanding setbacks differently. Your sources had that great line, AI can deliver information, humans deliver meaning.
Ah, I remember that.
You need both. You need the practical info, yes, but you also need that human connection therapist, groups, supportive friends, mentors, people who help you make meaning out of the changes, who reflect your progress back to you.
That connection provides the context, the meaning.
Mhm.
Okay. And the final principle ties it all together. Rewrite the narrative. Weight loss is biology. Staying there is narrative. That one hit hard.
It's incredibly powerful, isn't it? This is where Hollis really emphasizes agency. You have to consciously rewrite the stories you tell yourself.
Stories about what?
About everything related to this. Past failures with dieting, your relationship with food, your fundamental self-worth. Are you telling a story where you're doomed to fail, or one where you're capable of change?
Because medication can only do so much.
Exactly. As he puts it, no amount of medication can sustain a story that says, I don't deserve this. You have to build a new narrative, a believable, sustainable story where you are worthy of health, of feeling good, of this transformation.
Wow. That reframes the whole journey. Okay, speaking of narratives, what about the inevitable bumps in the road, setbacks? Does his framework account for those?
Yeah.
Because they happen.
Oh, absolutely. And he reframes them fundamentally, which is huge because for many people, a setback feels like total failure, right? Like you're back to square one.
Yeah, blew it.
But Dan doesn't see it that way. He says, most people don't relapse into hunger, they relapse into confusion.
Confusion, not weakness.
Confusion, uncertainty. Falling back into old patterns, not because you lack willpower, but because the situation is confusing or overwhelming and the old way is familiar. Setbacks, he teaches, are predictable. They're human. They're signals, not signs of failure.
Signals of what?
Signals that something needs attention. He uses the analogy of a spiral staircase.
Okay.
You might feel like you're going in circles, revisiting old thoughts or urges, but you're actually still climbing. You're on a higher level of the spiral, encountering that old pattern with new tools, new awareness.
So if an old craving pops up, it doesn't mean the medication stopped working or you failed.
Yeah. Not at all. It's just memory. An old neural pathway lighting up, maybe triggered by stress or a situation. It's asking, hey, is this still relevant?
And now, with the quiet window and the scaffolding.
You have the space and the support to answer differently. You can recognize it, there's that old feeling, and then consciously choose a different response. The setback becomes a question.
What kind of question?
Hollis suggests asking, what am I feeling right now? What do I truly need? Who do I want to become in this moment? It turns the setback from a judgment into a learning opportunity, a chance to reinforce the new narrative.
That changes everything about how you'd approach a slip-up. Okay, we've really journeyed deep into this quiet window today. It's clear from the sources you share that semaglutide can open up this unexpected space for transformation that goes so far beyond just weight loss.
Absolutely. The medication might quiet the physical hunger, but as we've discussed, it often turns up the volume on those deeper emotional questions that maybe food was helping to keep quiet.
And Dan Hollis's approach, it's not some rigid formula. It's more like a conversation guide, isn't it? Between your biology, your habits, your emotions.
Exactly. Using that window to change that the medication provides to do some really meaningful internal work.
We walked through his 7 principles, starting with listening in that silence, then actively rewiring rituals.
And doing that crucial work of anchoring identity so your mind keeps pace with your body, remembering to pace the process overall.
Plus, the practical wisdom of planning the off-ramp right from the beginning and the absolute necessity of building that scaffolding of support.
And finally, maybe most importantly, rewriting the narrative, crafting that internal story that allows you to sustain the changes.
And we saw how he reframes setbacks, not failures, just signals.
Yeah.
Confusion, not weakness. That spiral staircase idea you're still climbing even when it feels like you're revisiting old ground.
Right. An old craving is just memory asking a question, an opportunity to choose the new path, reinforcing who you want to become.
For Kate, from the sources, it wasn't about some dramatic overnight fix or becoming a totally new person. It was smaller shifts, wasn't it?
Yeah, just, a Wednesday where she didn't snack through sadness, a Thursday where she chose tea instead of the second glass of wine, a Sunday walk that felt different, like a conversation with her future self. Small choices adding up.
She's here, in the quiet, listening. That's a powerful place to be.
It really is.
So if you're listening, and maybe you find yourself in that quiet place right now, maybe the craving didn't show up today, and it feels strange, unsettling. Even it's worth remembering that message from Dan Hollis in the material.
You're not broken. You're just beginning to hear yourself again. Welcome to the quiet window. You're not alone here.
This whole exploration really shows that transformation often happens when we allow ourselves to hear what emerges when the usual noise dies down.
Yeah, when those old habits finally quiet down, there's room for something else to be heard.
So a final thought then. If this quiet window created by medication can reveal such profound truths about our relationship with food, what other areas of our lives might benefit if we intentionally created our own quiet windows? What might we discover if we deliberately paused the noise elsewhere to just listen?
That's a great question to reflect on. What else is waiting to be heard in the quiet?